Hi, this is Travis Shaw with the Mosby Heritage Area. I'm standing along the banks of the Potomac River in historic Harper's Ferry, West Virginia right now. We are all familiar with the history of Harper's Ferry, going back to the Lewis and Clark expedition, John Brown's raid in 1859, and of course the pivotal battle that occurred here in 1862. Today, though, I'm going to talk a little bit about the fighting that occurred here on the 4th of July, 1864, as Jubal Early's forces made their way northwards towards Maryland. Now, when Jubal Early started moving down the valley, there were only two Union forces that stood in his way: a small garrison in Martinsburg under the command of Franz Sigel, and about 400 men here in Harper's Ferry under the command of Max Weber. Knowing that he and his forces were severely outnumbered, Weber scattered his men through the town, and all through the 4th of July they put up a steady skirmish as the troops under Rhodes and Ramseur's division entered from the west. Gradually, Weber's troops were pushed through the town, and Confederate troops were overjoyed to find vast quantities of supplies here, particularly luxuries like whiskey, cigars, sugar, and coffee. Knowing that he and his men had no hope of holding the town, Weber and his troops crossed right here at the site of the former pontoon bridge on the night of July 4th and took up positions on the heights behind me. Maryland Heights were heavily fortified by 1864. Weber and his men were backed up by several large artillery batteries, including a 100-pound Parrott rifle that was mounted about halfway up the slope. Late that evening, they were joined by Sigel's troops who had marched in from Martinsburg. So by the time Early woke up on July 5th, he and his men were facing over 6,000 entrenched Union troops on those heights. Now, Early's original plan had been to proceed down the river towards Washington, D.C., but in order to do so, he would have to take those heights. Fearing a frontal assault, he would recross his troops further upriver at Shepherdstown, and on July 5th, July 6th, try to take Maryland Heights from the rear. Unable to do so, he would retrace his steps, cross the passes at South Mountain, and push on towards Frederick. These movements would eventually lead to the Battle of Monocacy on July 9th. Now, we like to give Lew Wallace and his men great credit for delaying Early on July 9th, and of course great credit is due, but we do tend to forget Sigel and Weber and their men holding up Jubal Early for a full 3 days right here at Harper's Ferry, a delay that would prove fatal to Jubal Early's designs on Washington. To learn more about this campaign, the Battle of Monocacy, and the other battles that took place in the summer of 1864, I hope you'll join us in the first weekend of October for the 22nd Annual Art of Command in the Civil War Conference. We've got a great panel of historians that will speak on the campaign and on these battles. Sure to be a good time, and I hope you'll join us then. For more information, I hope you'll visit www.mosbyheritagearea.org/events. See you in October.